Watching your local television network, TSPN. And now back to today's Seniors Living Well with your host, Laurie Webb.
Hi everyone, welcome back to today's Seniors Living Well. We're talking about living well and we're talking about dying well as well today. But I have as my guest, back by popular demand, Bill, who was here a couple weeks ago. I spilled the beans, Bill, and told your age, and I kind of thought you probably didn't want that done, but I mean it's pretty remarkable, 105. And you were here a couple weeks ago talking, and we ran out of time.
That's right.
And you started to tell me something. You started with, you said I was born among celebrities?
Right.
What?
Oh, yeah. Of course, after 1908, President Lyndon B. Johnson was born in 1908. Betty Davis was born in 1908. Joan Crawford, Jimmy Stewart,
My
Mel
goodness.
Blanc, and there was one other, but that's right.
So these were all
Anyway,
celebrities that were
These were all celebrities
But they're
later
all-
in life. Later in life.
later in life, right?
Yeah, because, of course, I imagine they were born amongst well-to-do people.
Well, I think
And they had,
some of them were.
They had a
But
better education than I did. Of course, my life, when I was coming up, it was rough. It wasn't easy.
right, you got educated by experience.
I by experience.
Right.
And, well, anyway, my father was in the Spanish-American War in 1898.
Oh my
And
goodness.
he rode up San Juan Hill with Teddy Roosevelt.
Oh my
That
goodness.
was before he was elected president in 1900.
Uh-huh.
And anyway,
You remember more history than I learned.
in 1900, Roosevelt went into office, and my father was a carpenter,
Uh-huh.
and he worked wherever he could find a good job. And it wasn't easy for him either. So he was not always at home. And, my
And where
mother-
was home back then, Bill?
Oh, home was just wherever we could rent a
Wherever you
place.
could find a place. Okay.
Yeah, wherever we could find a place to rent. And I changed school when I was a youngster 5 different times.
Oh my goodness.
Because that's how many times we moved.
Moved,
And every time you move, you have to go to a different school.
Sure, sure.
Well, anyway, my boyhood was just a normal. We made our own tools to work, own toys to play with.
Mhm.
We didn't have the toys that they have today.
Yeah, like the iPads.
Far
and
from that.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I used to make my father being a carpenter, he'd bring home a 2x4 about 3 or 4 feet long, and we had roller skates. But we'd have a roller skate that would wear out. We had 2 of them, see, one on each foot. One would wear out. Then we'd take the other one, take it apart. You could unscrew it, pull it apart, put one on one end of the 2x4, one on the other end of the 2x4. And back then, they didn't have cartons to pack stuff in. They always had wooden crates.
Crates, sure.
Little crates.
Yeah.
Well, we'd get these little crates, everybody so high, and we'd put it on this 2x4, and I'd get my dad to nail this on. And he'd do it, and then we made a little couple of sticks for handlebars, and we used those for scooters.
Yeah, it's
up and down the
scooters.
street. We'd go up the hill. I lived on Massachusetts Avenue and 5th Street and 6th Street, between 5th and 6th on
And
Massachusetts
which town
Avenue.
was this?
6th Street had a slope to it.
Oh,
So
okay.
we'd go around the corner, go up the top of the hill, and just start out and go down. We stoop down. It's just a regular toy.
No brakes.
No brakes. Well, you had to use your foot.
Yeah, right.
Stick a foot out.
Foot power.
Yeah. Well, anyway, that was one of the things that we had. And every year, right after school, my mother would cut my hair all off. All our boys. There was three smaller boys. My two oldest brothers. One was in the service already. And I don't know what my second oldest brother was doing, because we never had much acquaintance with them. There was 7 and 8 years difference in our age. See, they were grown while we were kids.
When you were kids, sure, sure.
So we didn't have too much to do with them. But I do remember my oldest brother was in the service at Fort Myers, Virginia. He was in the artillery. And the artillery is the one that they use the case on to carry a coffin of a president or a celebrity.
A caisson is a kind of
well, it was like
truck,
it had a cannon on one end and a deal on the front where the two drivers would sit up on and drive the horse, and the cannon was on the back end.
The
of
cannon,
it.
okay, and then it was horse
They call
pulled.
that a caisson.
Oh, okay.
But they take that cannon off and use it to lay a coffin. On it. It was very simple, and that's what they did. That's what he did. And
he drove the caisson?
He drove the caisson up Pennsylvania Avenue. Well, when I was first went to school, and I was 6 years old when the First World War broke out, and that was caused by the.
Oh, we forgot to tell Bill. Cell phone's off. Tell him I'm sorry. I'm doing a TV interview.
Yeah. I'm sorry about that.
That's okay.
Well, anyway,
we forgot to ask you.
I forgot it was on too. I didn't think that would happen. Well, anyway.
So
what started the First World War was the assassination of Archduke Ferdinand of Austria. And they blamed the Germans on it. So the Germans started the war. And that was when I was 6 years old, the first year I went to school. In 1917, when President Wilson was reelected, he went in 1912, first president, as president of the United States. And when the war broke out, which was caused by the sinking of the Lusitania by a German submarine. Well, anyway, war was declared on Germany, and he was also reelected that same year, and he drove up from the White House to the Pennsylvania to the Capitol for the inauguration, and he was the last president that rode the carriage, horse-drawn carriage, in 1912.
Bill, have you always been so interested in history? Have you always been so interested in history? I mean, you remember so much stuff.
Yes,
you have a lot of history to remember.
I remember all of that. I was very interested in geography and history in my school days. Of course, in later years, in 1924, when I was 16 years old, my mother passed away. And that left me all alone. Of course, my father, they had separated. The saddest part of my life was when they first separated, and I was 10 years old.
Oh, yeah,
at the time. And that was in 1918.
So at 16, you became an orphan?
Just about, because then I went to live with my father for 2 years.
He was still alive, okay.
He was still here, but he was a carpenter, and he was in a boarding house where you'd have your meals and your...
and a bedroom.
Bedroom and everything.
Yeah.
So I lived with him 2 years, and then my mother finally needed some help. And I was 14 at the time. I was with my dad 2 years. So I went with my mother. For the next 2 years, my first job was with the Bell Telephone Company as a page boy.
Oh, when you were...
When I was 14.
14.
I had to go out. Well, during then, you could get a permit to go to work.
Sure.
if you were in the 8th
The laws were
grade,
different.
which I was
Yeah.
in the 8th grade.
Yeah.
I was 14 years old. But I went out before I graduated out of the 8th grade. So I never did get the opportunity to go back to finish my
But what a rich
schooling.
life you've led. And I mean, just everything you remember and everything, the folks that got to hear you 2 weeks ago talking about all the adventures that you've had in your life, I mean, it's
Well,
amazing. How do you think what's kept you going?
It's just determination.
Determination.
Determination to take care of myself. I knew it was up to me then.
From a very young
After-
age,
after my
yeah.
mother passed away.
Sure.
In fact, she passed away 2 days after my birthday, 16th birthday. So when I was 60 years old, from that time on, I was on my own, made my own decisions, and picked my own life out, what to do and what I had to do.
What a life you've had.
Yeah, and my first job after I got through with the Bell Telephone Company, after my mother passed away, I went to work for the Iron Wire and Fence Company. They had just started the building the fences around the schools.
Oh, uh-huh.
This was in 1922.
Uh-huh.
They decided, of course, the vehicles were beginning to be pretty popular and get more and more on them.
Uh-huh.
And before all of that, when I was a kid, you could play, you could run out in the street, you didn't have
Right.
to worry about the cars.
Right, but
Anyway, thing you had to worry
times
about
are
was the horse
changing.
drawn or the fire engine.
Right.
The horse drawn fire engines at the time.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I got this job with this here Iron Wire and Fence Company, and I was what they call digging post holes to put the post in the cement
Right.
in these posts, and I had to do that all around. That's where I got my PhD.
Your PhD?
Yeah,
Post hole digger. Bill, on that note, we have to go. I can't believe it. I need a whole show to talk to you. Thank you so much for coming back.
Oh,
and next
enjoyed-
time we have you on, please remember to turn your cell phone off.
Yeah, I'll come a little more dressed up too,
Oh, don't worry about it.
and I'll turn my TV off, my
Thanks.
cell phone off.
Thanks, everyone. Stay tuned. We'll be back in a few seconds to talk with Johanna from ICU.